Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Grab your tea and let's get ready for Tea Talk, where the topics are real, relevant, and relaxing. It's Tea Talk time, and here's Lady O.
All right, thanks, Tracy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tea Talk. I'm Lady O, and I'm so happy to have you today for Tea Talk. And Tea Talk is a time when we get together and talk about real and relevant issues. And so I tell you what, today, you want to make sure you go ahead and contact all of your family and friends, your coworkers, even your children. They need to know because the topic we're going to be talking about today is urgent. Everybody say urgent. It is urgent. This is a rally call for everybody to get ready and be informed about what's about to happen to you. That's right. It's about to happen to not just me, but it's about to happen to all of us. And I don't think we realize it. As a matter of fact, I know we don't realize it because if we did, I know people would do something about it. So today, we're going to make sure that you know some things that you can do about some things that are coming up that are going to be urgent to you and your future. Now, I'm entitled this um, Get Informed, Get Involved. Two things: get informed and get involved. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And we are perishing, guys, and we don't even know it. Why are we perishing? Because we don't even know what's going on. And I ask you to challenge yourself and ask yourself, do I know what's going on? Am I informed? And you may be saying, about what? Well, you should know what I'm talking about, but after this day, you will. And then the second thing, not only do I know things, I'm informed about it, am I involved? Or am I just being apathetic about it or saying, no, somebody else will do it, it'll be okay? So we need to make sure that we are awake, okay? We're not woke. We are need to make sure that we are awake because some things that are going on here, especially in the state of Texas, they're going on all over. But since we live in Texas, we can only do stuff about what goes on in Texas. So we're going to make sure we get informed. I have two wonderful guests today who are going to help us. And, you know, they are just so full of knowledge and wisdom that can help us. So I want you to make sure that you let somebody else know. Go ahead and share, like, comment, and share with your groups. Like if you're part of a big group, maybe like the Deltas, share to all your Delta friends. Okay. We share so many things and we are worried about birthdays. But I tell you what, we don't need to be worried about birthdays right now. We need to be worried about you being informed and you being involved. So we have State Representative John Rosenthal, who's going to come and give us some very much needed information. Get your pen and your paper out and call your friends and get involved and make sure your kids are involved too, especially if they're in high school. And then we have Dr. Bishop, I call him Dr. Bishop James Dixon, because some of you know him by Bishop James Dixon. Well, it's the Dr. Bishop James Dixon. It's going to be here today. And he has some wonderful stuff from the NAACP. So these are two major groups that we need to know information from so that we can get prepared. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Bishop Dixon if he will come on. And Bishop Dixon, hello and welcome to Tea Talk. Let's see his face. His picture is going to come on in just a minute. Let's see. Now, we had a problem last week, but we know we've got him in this week. So don't worry about it. He's coming. While he's coming, I want to talk to you about just kind of pick up a little bit about where we were last week. Okay, I see him there. Let's see. I need to have his picture and the voice, and we're almost there. Bishop Dixon, are you there? There he is. Okay, now if I can hear you, I can see you, but I can't hear you. He's so busy. He's in this car, so he's got to get certain things plugged in. But like I was saying, we really, he's sideways. He's getting it better. Just bear with him. He's getting it there. It's gonna be good once we get him on here. Okay. But I was saying last week that we were talking about Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, how far we've come, and how things have changed and gotten so much better. But when I look at some of the things that we're having to go through right now, it makes you wonder, have we really gotten better, or are we just shifting things around and doing things a different way? And now that they're being shifted this way, people are starting to do even that a different way. I always say that, once we learn how to play the game, they changed the rules. Okay. And so we've learned how to play the rules of politics and voting and those kind of things and how to get along with each other. And so now that we've learned that, now it seems like everything is changing. So I want to talk about those things and see how things have changed, but really some things are remaining the same, and people are going undercover in a roundabout way to get things done to keep us on that plantation. And when I talk about plantation, it's talking about where you have thousands of people on the plantation, but they're being governed by a few people because the few people have the power, they have the money, they make the rules. And so the people, even though there are more people, they have nothing to say about it. There he is, Bishop Dixon. We got you. Welcome. Can you hear me? I see you talking, but I sometimes those headsets don't work. You can't hear me? I can't hear you either. So we were hearing each other a few minutes ago. So we're going to keep working on until we get you on here. Okay. So don't worry. But so when I talked to Bishop Dixon about some things that the NAACP is doing, I know back when we were in the civil rights age and when we could not vote or we could not go to school, when things were separate but equal. Back in those days, I know the NAACP stepped in and really did some great work to assist and bring an equity to the people in schools and different things. And so then we have now, quote unquote, equity. Now, that's been since 54, but now we're looking at education that people are not wanting to do equity, the way we were doing it. So now I think I heard something. It's coming. Let's try this time.
I'm here.
There you are. Yay. Yes. Okay. Welcome to Tea Talk.
Thank you very much. I've changed locations twice, but I was determined to get in on this show today. Thank you for having me, Lady O.
Well, thank you so much for making every effort to be in here. We really, really are so excited to have you and honored. We just kind of want to get your voice in helping us navigate where we go from here. Of course, we thank you so much for coming out and doing the press conference for Cy-Fair School District. We really appreciate all of that. And of course, we are not through yet. We're still talking about equity and diversity and inclusion there. And so we don't know what they're going to do, but we're going to keep you informed and keep you involved because we have got to move beyond where we were. And I was talking about when you were getting on is that we were in the 50s, the NAACP was involved in, getting us in school equality and those kind of civil rights and things like that. So what is this? What is the NAACP? Tell us about whatever you want to tell us about NAACP and how things have changed and how they remain the same, maybe.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me again. I appreciate being on the Tea Talk time with you and with your awesome guests. And let me just say, at that board meeting, you waxed eloquent. Your words were poignant, powerful, prolific, and potent and purpose. So thank you for what you shared that night and for your leadership in all this effort. Along with Bishop Ogletree, we honor both of you, and you're such awesome individuals and leaders in our community. The NAACP was launched, of course, with W.E.B. Du Bois and others over 100 years ago for this very purpose. And the understanding for the need for there to be advocacy informed by the Constitution and the law, and by a moral standard that said injustice against any people is an injustice against all people. Mm-hmm. And that remains our mantra today. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is devoted to leveraging our collective resource politically and morally and financially to ensure that we change systems that have thrived on injustice and unjust laws, unjust policies. Uh, and of course, when we look at the lay of the land today, we have numerous issues that pinpoint the relevance of an active and engaged NAACP. I'm honored to serve as the Houston branch president of the NAACP. And of course, one of our executive committee members is himself Bishop John Ogletree. And so we're doing a lot to really engage and impact on the issues of today. Voting rights certainly is at the top of that list. We fought locally within our county, fought statewide in the state of Texas, and of course, national. And we are still dealing today with the fact that the filibuster is a tool of a Jim Crow tool that's designed to prevent what you just described, equity and diversity and equality. We are certainly committed to that on a number of fronts, and particularly as we talk about the issue in Sci-Fair ISD. The remarks made by this board member were not almost racist; they were racist. Not almost discriminatory; they were definitely discriminatory and offensive. And there's work to be done. The voting public in Sci-Fair has really, while some have stepped up and stood up and spoken up, many of those individuals have not. And the question is why. So we've got to really work to see what's going to be necessary to get the general public to decide to stand on the right side of history in that matter. But the NAACP, and I don't want to talk too long, is engaged in economic justice, and health justice, and environmental justice, social and certainly social justice. And so we say actively engage in fighting injustice and promoting just causes throughout our community.
Very good. That was a wonderful, wonderful start off to give us an overview of what you do and what the NAACP is doing. Because back in the day when we were doing civil rights and fighting for just the right to be able to go to school, in a decent place, so forth. But now it's still a fight of justice and equity. I mean, it's like some things change, but some things have not changed. So I really appreciated you talking too about the different issues that you have, political and judicial and all those kind of things, justice and the kind of things. So I'm going to ask you to give me a couple of those things. But before you do that, I also want to know for you to share that we need to have people become a part of the NAACP. And where do we get the money? Because just coming out of this voting election, it costs a lot of money to do these things. So, where do you get the funds, and should everybody in the whole wide world be a part of the NAACP? Okay, we got a little gap there. So, okay.
How to become a member?
Yeah, how do you become a member?
One of the things we're doing right now at the NAACP is we're challenging all public.
You're cutting up again. I'm sorry. Can you say it again? You cut up. You said we're asking
Yes,
all, and all we
yeah.
heard.
So, all public agencies to conduct a disparity study. This deals with their Black, minority, and women-owned business procurement policies, contracts. And of course, Harris County had never done a disparity study. Commissioner Wright led the charge there and had to put up money out of his own budget to pay for that study. But it showed deplorable numbers. A county like Harris County, which is majority minority, and you had less than 4% of contracts going to Black and minority-owned businesses. That's deplorable in 2022. You look at the Port of Houston, those numbers are enormously low, somewhere in the 2 or 3 percentile. We've asked HISD to conduct a disparity study. Lone Star College has already consented to conduct a disparity study. Metro, the transportation agency, they just agreed to conduct a study. but already the preliminary numbers are deplorable. This is economic injustice, and the reality is we see the results of policies like these. We just don't often think of what the root causes are. Blacks and other minorities are still suffering from the lack of access to opportunity. And so your Houston NACP is partnering with Commissioner Ellis, Commissioner Adrian Garcia, and others to make sure we challenge government agencies. We've already sent a letter to Cy-Fair ISD based on the Open Records Act to ask, have you conducted a disparity study and what are your numbers? I can assure you that the contractual opportunities that blacks and other minorities have had access to in Cy-Fair are minimal at best. So we got to look at economic parity and equity, education equity, all the way across the spectrum, because all of this represents either the violence or the fact that communities are stranglehold and not able to plan and chart their own courses and their own futures.
Wow. I got really excited there. I hadn't heard about this particular study, but I know the reason why we had such a big problem is because we were doing an equity audit study and then try to figure out in our school, in our classes and people that work in the district, what does that look like? Does it look like the demographics of the people who attend the schools and work in the schools? And so we were just saying, let's be transparent. Why are we not just divulging those numbers? I'm hoping that they're not deplorable too, but we do want them to keep that equity audit because they want to throw it out and say we don't need it. It's a waste of money. But in reality, the whole thing is it's all about the money. The money comes to those.
It is.
Go ahead. It's all about the money.
No,
Go ahead.
It is all about the money. And I want to urge and thank you for that coalition there in Cy-Fair. What we've got to do is really make sure the public is informed as to the relevance of our questions and our inquiries and get the public support of those things that are constitutional and moral and just. This is one of them. That equity study is very important. And the manipulation of the study's results point to the fact that people think that there might be some things that they should hide. But when you start asking people to conduct equity studies, disparity studies, they get nervous and defensive. And here's why. It's like the individual, and we all know some people like this, who refuse to go to the doctor for an annual checkup. And the reason they refuse to go to the doctor for an annual checkup is because they may not want to learn and have verified the obvious results. So most people rather not get that checkup because once the data comes back and says, this is the condition, we do not give economic opportunities fairly to blacks and minority-owned businesses. 2, we don't provide the best education supports for those communities. 3, we're not fully supporting them in terms of their individual quest. Those studies come back figures, people get insulted. So they would rather not conduct the study if the body is doing well. When you and I both know, you can be feeling well every day, but when you go to the bank and check out documents, the question is, are you solid, are you legal, and are you proficient?
Yeah, and that goes back to my original statement. We're perishing for the lack of knowledge. And so we need to get informed and we need to get involved. And I definitely want to ask you about how powerful that was for all of the people to come to the school board meetings and the people in the media to get involved in this and to not stop. Would you just kind of encourage our people why it's important that they don't stop, that they continue?
Well, let me tell you, you cannot stop. If W.E. Boyce and Booker T. Washington, if Fannie Lou Hamer, if Frederick Douglass, if Martin King, if Ralph Abernathy, if Fred Shuttlesworth, if Meredith Evers and his wife, if they had stopped, brothers and sisters, we would not be here today enjoying what we enjoy. We cannot stop. You've got to be motivated. You've got to be motivated, educated, and you have to be willing to be dedicated to this cause because it's not something that's going to be cured overnight. So please join the cause. The website is furnished on the screen. Don't miss the cause. But also let me say this. It's one thing to say I'm supporting you. It's another thing to say I am with you. Supporting you means I hope you do well. Here's a check. Here's a push. Being with you means I march with you. I show up with you. I am a world changer with you. And we're missing volunteers who are willing to do all three, but we've got to show that up right now because we've got to get ahead of the curve for this general election that's happening in March.
Yes, thank you for saying that too, because when we were looking at how we're going to do this next group, we were saying we need supporters, but no, we don't need just supporters. We need people who are with me to kind of show up, to get involved and to do things and not just say, oh, you do it and I'm supporting what you're doing. No, I'm with you. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And we're going to be asking all of you that are listening that you go to the Facebook page that says CC for DEI. That's the short way of getting it. CC, the number 4, and DEI. That's community, Sci-Fair community for, that's number 4. Diversity, it's a D, equity, and inclusion. Now, you know, it's so funny that a bishop that Sci-Fair, you know, our school board, the motto is opportunity for all. And what you were just saying a minute ago, how do we know we got opportunity for all if we're not doing a checkup and we haven't done an examination, we don't have figures and data? How do we know that we have opportunity for all?
We can't afford to miss this moment. And leadership has to be held accountable, and we have to hold ourselves accountable. To your point, we've got to show up, stand up, and speak up for those who are the voiceless, who need an advocate. We need that in this pandemic. You know that minority-owned communities have had lack of access to good health care, resources, and information. All of this requires all of us to show up and do our part. And I you know, I'm a pastor, lady. You know that. I say to our church, you know, if 10 members decide not to function, tell your elbow, tell your wrist, tell your ankle, you have an off week. It doesn't work. Your body cannot function. Everybody's showing up to serve and be a part. It is going to take all of us standing vigilant. And let me just say this, the adversaries, the opposition to justice, the opposition to equity, the opposition to fairness, they are organized, they are mobilized, and they are energized. So we cannot afford to be apathetic at a time like this. We need everybody to be, up on the front line saying, I'm willing to serve, because if we don't, our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will suffer from our apathy. So it takes all of us being connected. The NAACP is a good place to connect. Join with this coalition out inside FAIR on equity and diversity. Be sure and be a part of it. But finally, let me say this. You can't just tweet and text to say you fought. Okay? We're in a day where people think that if you send out a text or a tweet or a Facebook post, you've done your part. Brothers and sisters, listen, you got to have what I call, watch this, radical dissatisfaction.
I love it.
You've got to be radically dissatisfied. All right? When you're radically dissatisfied, you'll show up at the meeting, you'll show up at the march, you'll be at the press conference, you'll be at the protest, because I'm radically dissatisfied. If we want to get rid of the wrong people in these positions, be radically dissatisfied. We want to come to the polls to vote, to make changes, be radically dissatisfied. I know Lady O is, and some of us are, but we need everybody to be radically dissatisfied.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you, Bishop Dixon. I really appreciate that. And we're going to keep doing this, not just a conversation. There's some more strategic planning, and some people need to come along and help us do it, because you can't do it by yourself. And I'm really putting a challenge out there for our African-American churches. We need all the churches, but I tell you what, African-American churches, we could do this. We can do it.
We could.
Yeah, and we must do it. How sad. that we're sitting by and just having church when we're about to be put on a plantation, us and all our members. So Bishop Dixon, thank you so much. You
Yeah.
really, really blessed us today, and
Thank you for
the
having me.
different things you talked about, so impactful. So we thank you again and look forward to talking with you soon and getting some things strategized so we can move forward.
God bless. God bless you, and God bless all of the panel. God, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Blessings to you. Okay. Wow. Wasn't that amazing? I told you it was worth the time. I think these computers try to get us cut off, but we have got to get this word out here. So I'm hoping that as we're doing this, you're sharing, you're tweeting. That's the first thing that's so easy to do, is just to, get the word out, get the word out, get the word out, and then compel them to come help, to mobilize. And so speaking of that, I want to say special shout out to Sister Faye. I saw Sister Faye was back out of the hospital and she's back on, one of our #1 fans. So thank you, Sister Faye. Love you, good you're back on. But this just kind of leads us right into the next segue. So how do we get involved? Now, we definitely going to join the NAACP. I think it's like $25. Come on, guys, everybody on here, become a part of the NAACP. Put up some money behind that. Push back from the table. Let go of those Gucci shoes and all that other hairdo. This is real important, okay? Because you're going to look a hot mess on that plantation when you figure out what's really going on. But so we're going to segue into our next guest, because he is going to really give us some more steps of things we can do, that we must do to get informed and to get involved, okay, and radicalized, right, about it. So this is one of my very dear friends here. Y'all know we just kind of claim him as a member and as a person, because he's such a good person. He loves people and he loves for right and for justice. And so he is going to come on, State Representative John Rosenthal. Welcome to Tea Talk.
Thank you so much for having me on today, Lady O. I am proud to be a member at First Metropolitan Church. Yes. And I am radically dissatisfied.
Yes, you are. Well, we are so happy, and I just can't wait for you to share some things about what's going on in the state of Texas. What do we need to know? What's the urgent hot spot right here? Let's jump right in it, and I'm letting you have it. To go for it. Start us off.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And where do we even start? I'm grateful to all of you who are listening, and let me tell you what's up right now in our area, in Cy-Fair, and in our county, in Harris County, but most importantly in the state as a whole, the state overall. Our rights are under attack. Your rights are under attack. Our very system of democratic representation is under attack. And so we just saw what happens when we sleep through an election and not everybody gets up and gets involved. We lose good people on our school board. And we saw the result of that. A lot of us are very unhappy about that. I promise you, I was there to speak out against it. I was in the streets knocking on doors for our good candidates, like Dr. John Ogletree. And
yes, you did.
I did. I did some canvassing myself, and I will not only will I be canvassing myself in this next election, but I want to spend my time recruiting volunteers to help us make phone calls, to help us knock on doors, to help us get out the vote, because they're coming for us, y'all. Not only are they pulling their little tricks to make voting more difficult and shave some points and trying to make it especially more difficult for communities of color to access the ballot box, the sacred fundamental right to express yourself, to elect representatives of your choice. Representation matters. Not only are they chipping away at the edges like that by making it more difficult to vote by mail and cutting back, making illegal some of our very successful programs that we put in place here in Harris County. Now they're changing who the referees are, y'all. If
oh yeah, talk about that. Yeah, what do you mean by that? What are they doing?
So it's not just who gets to vote anymore; it's who counts the votes.
Okay,
and we're seeing this anti-democratic movement to where they're trying to set themselves up so that if the candidate they don't like get elected, they're going to nullify that. And so It hasn't happened yet, and we have an opportunity to block this from really going into effect. And the only way that we're going to do that is to do it together. And what I'm going to say right now is we have elections coming up in 2022. We're going to have a major election, and then 2024 again. In this next election, we got some statewide races that I fully believe in my heart that we can win. And let me just tell you that it's a complete game. It's not a game changer. It's a whole universe changer. If we put, and excuse my partisanship, at this point, we only got one party interested in our democratic system of government. If we put a Democrat in the governor's chair or the lieutenant governor's chair, pray to God we get both. But either one of those will restore balance to Texas government. And the only things that will pass, the only things that can pass, if we have either of those seats, is stuff that both sides agree on. So that would be a game changer. That would be a universe changer for us. And y'all, the last time we had a statewide race like this, we had a candidate for Senate lost by 200,000 votes. We could have made that up in Harris County alone with not even half of the registered voters who did not vote. If something like 40% of the registered voters in Harris County had voted, 40% of those who did not vote, if they had voted in this last Senate election, we would have replaced Ted Cruz. So I'm going to tell you, it's possible. And we've got to work our butts off in these newly gerrymandered districts. And I know I'm going on, but
no, go ahead. Gerrymander positions, because I know that's a thing that just happened that they reached.
It's a thing that just happened. They redrew all of our districts. As a matter of fact, First Metropolitan Church is no longer in my district, House District 135, but it is in House District, I believe it's 148, Penny Shaw. So you will have a good human as a representative for the grounds of the church. I'm still all around Copperfield and down into Katy and all that stuff. Copperfield, Cypress, and Katy.
Copperfield and Katy area is your area?
Yes.
There's a lot of people on here. I know they're in Katy and Copperfield, so that's good to know.
So a lot of the neighborhoods that I would walk in, it used to be the edge of my district down around Fry and Little York. Fry Road and Little York used to be the edge of my district. Now that's the heart of my district. So if you anywhere around that, that's the heart of 135 now. So getting back to the topic, in the election right after they gerrymander, they redraw all the districts. Most of the House representatives and the Senate, Texas Senate senators are going to be in safe seats, what we call safe seats. So they don't have to worry about a partisan general election. Their whole thing is going to be the primary. Well, let me tell you, that means that voter turnout may be low. And we see what happens in low turnout elections, that the group that gets their folks to actually show up wins. And that's how these radical, crazy folks end up on our school board. We already represent the majority of this state. And so we can no longer afford to allow the minority to rule. Okay. And the way that the census shows this state is that it's 40% white, 40% Hispanic, and 20% mostly Black and Asian.
Okay.
So
I want to say
got to get out the vote
with that. I want to just make sure people really, really got this fact. We represent the majority. And if we represent the majority, we can have what we want if we vote. But we're letting the 20% vote, or the other 40%, whatever it is. But we could have it if we did. And this is one of the things that got me, and I trust God with everything, but with what happened with Bishop Ogletree. But I'm told, and we got to look at the breakdown, that only 1.5% of eligible voters voted in that election. If we had gotten some more churches or some more communities involved and some, just really got serious about it, and it's not just about your one vote, it's about getting radical enough to where you taking your whole family and your community with you, not just your one vote. You're going to have to be a force to be reckoned with, and your one vote is not going to get it. We appreciate it, but you're going to have to help do the work to get the rest of the people on board. So I want to make sure they understood that that we represent the majority and that we can do this. So now, can you go over the governor and the lieutenant governor, why those positions are so important, and who's running for those? I know, of course, our people that are the incumbents are in there. Do we have new people running for those positions?
We do, and I don't. I should have brought a list of all the candidates. We've got Beto O'Rourke is running for governor, and he's probably running the strongest competitive campaign.
Right.
And there, I do believe there's a couple of others who are in that race who are good folks. Yes, Beto is running against Greg Abbott. There's a field of Democratic candidates, and then for the lieutenant governor, we have a great advocate of public education named Mike Collier, who is running for that job, and he has run for that before and fell just short last time. So. Those are probably the major candidates. Whoever comes out of the primary, I'm supporting them, and I'm going to put everything I have into helping get these folks elected, whoever it is, because even if it's just the lieutenant governor, people, may or may not know what that position does. That position is the president of the Senate, the Texas State Senate, and that person can control what legislation comes through the Senate or not. They have complete control over that. And they have complete control over the rules for debate and all of that stuff. If you put a Democrat in that chair, there isn't none of this crazy, nonsense business getting through Texas government. It will get blocked in the Senate. Or, of course, if you have someone in the governor's chair, they have the power of the pen, the veto. And so, once again, all the crazy nonsense can be completely blocked by either of those two seats. And let me tell you, we can be competitive for those. Once again, we are the majority. You and me put together, we are the majority. And if we all work together, we can elect candidates of our choice. That will be for equity. That will be for justice for all of us.
Okay, and that's very important. And so that means that you guys won't have to run to Washington to hide out if you got somebody that's got some equitable choices here. But I mean,
talk about being radically dissatisfied. I was willing to participate in the interruption of government to call attention to this issue.
I know, and the reason, some people say that you all did something bad or whatever. And that's, of course, the people don't really know. But what really was happening, you were not given a choice. They were saying we're going to do this, and it's wrong, but because you don't have the right people in the right place, you don't have any say so about. They can just stamp it in front of your face, and that's why what they were trying to do.
They can indeed. They can indeed. This is. We live in radical, dangerous times, and it calls for all of us. The way to beat this is with righteous love and righteous hard work together, and we can do it.
Yes, and I always say too, if you just get good people, no matter what race you are, and even with your political party, I mean, you got some good people on both sides, but you got to be able to stand for what's right because that's right, not because standing for wrong because they're wrong, but because they're your party. So you have to be able to stand up for what's right. So okay, so let's talk about. Okay, you mentioned primaries. I want to make sure everybody understands fully. The last day to register in the primaries is the 29th. Is that correct?
I believe that January 31st is the last day to register for the March 1st primary.
And so what is that? Why is that important? Because I know even myself, a lot of times I'm like, as long as I can vote in the thing, but can you explain why that's important?
Well, the primary determines who's going to be on the ballot in the general election. So if you like Beto's chances, for instance, if you like Beto's chances to beat Greg Abbott, you got to vote for Beto in the primary to make sure he's going to be on that ticket in the general election. So, and I think it's really important that folks have their voices in the primary election so that we can truly elect the people that speak for us. You can elect the people that speak for you. And that's that type of representation is truly important. So I'm going to let you know, you can go to harrisvotes.org. Harris, like Harris County, harrisvotes.org. and get all the information. January 31st is the last day to register for this
Right.
primary. Valentine's Day, February 14th, is the first day of early voting.
Mhm.
February 25th, last day of early voting, and the actual election, the primary election, is on March 1st.
Right. And let me throw this in here too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you vote for the people in the primaries, that says who's on the ballot. And so people that are on the ballot will get more support financially. And so they're more likely to win if you're not on the ballot. So it's real important that if you want Beto O'Rourke on the ballot, you have to vote for him to be on the ballot. And if he doesn't get on the ballot, then he could still run, but he doesn't get the money from certain people who are supporting the Democratic ballot. Am I correct in that?
Yes, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Not only will he not get what we call the mainstream support, but he would end up being a write-in candidate. And your chances in a state like this of winning a write-in election are zero. I mean, it's so small. It's not going to happen. So I am unopposed in the primary. I won't even be on that. You won't see my name on the primary.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We got Republicans on the other side of the aisle, fighting each other for the opportunity to go up against me in the next election. And I say they can bring it on. But
you know what? I know there have been times when Bishop ran unopposed, and it's so wonderful to not have to do all that political stuff. But it also frees you up to give some time to somebody who needs it. So we won't have to be doing a whole lot for you, but we can put our energies behind lieutenant governor and governor.
So while in my district is going to be more heavily Democratic, so I don't have to worry so much about fighting off a general election opponent like I had to use all of my resources for that last time. This time, everything that I can raise, everything that I can use is going to go towards driving up the vote in a heavily Democratic district to help us win those statewide seats. And we need for the good people in the heavily Democratic districts all around Houston, all around the state of Texas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and El Paso, and the Valley are our strongholds. The metropolitan areas. We can win statewide if we just drive up the vote in those areas. So I'm going to be focusing all my time, all my energy to recruiting volunteers and having all of us knock on doors, bring people out. I'm going to bring my whole family to the polls. But you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to call all my friends. I'm going to say, hey, y'all, you need to not just go to the poll yourself, bring your whole family. And I'm going to charge you right now with a call to action. Call all your friends. Make sure they got a plan to vote in this election. And if you're going to vote by mail, get that in early too, because they are having all kinds of shenanigans with our vote by mail ballot applications.
I know.
We got to be all hands on. This may be our last chance to out organize their shenanigans.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's why at the very beginning I said this is an urgent meeting, urgent call. And like I said, when you do that, I want you to work in this election like your life depends on it, like your future depends on it, because guess what? It does. We're going to be setting up the legislative things, our government, our laws. We're setting up all those things to hand off to our children, our college graduates. We're handing them what they're going to have to live with. And it's sad that we're going to hand them something that is going to destroy them. It's like a noose around their neck. They really can't do very much. But I also want to say this: it is more reason for us to get our college students, our young adults, they're in their 20s and 30s. You guys need to get involved, because this is really your future. We're going to be on Social Security, hopefully, if it's still whatever, but you got to live with this, and you got to try to change it for your generation and your kids. So as Representative Rose, I think this is probably our last time to actually do it, where we have an opportunity to do that. And so Representative Rosenthal, let's talk about, so what other positions are should we pay attention to? I know those are the two main ones we've got to really focus on. Are there some others that really we need to look at? I know we can go and find
Yes,
who's running for them. If we go to vote.gov, you can find out who's running for these too, because we couldn't think of everybody else, right?
that's right.
Okay.
So there's a couple more. Some of y'all may have heard that we have an incredibly corrupt and horrible person as our attorney general in the state of Texas. And he's quite vulnerable, quite unpopular, even with moderates in his own party. And so that's another statewide seat we can win, attorney general. And we have got some good folks in that race. We've got a civil rights attorney icon out of Dallas named Lee Merritt in that race. And we also have a local guy. Dude used to be mayor of Galveston, Ron Jaworski. And his father was Leon Jaworski. He was one of the prosecutors in the Nixon trial.
I remember, yeah.
Yes. And so those are both good candidates, good men. I believe either one of them could run a campaign to unseat Ken Paxton. So vote your conscience in that race. That's an important one. And then the other one, here's the sleeper that people don't generally know about. We got a seat up on the Railroad Commission. Railroad Commission has nothing to do with trains. Railroad Commission of Texas regulates the oil and gas industry here.
Yeah.
And currently, all of the three railroad commissioners we have are all supported and win their campaigns with contributions by, guess who? The Oil and Gas Association. And so oil and gas, the people that they are supposed to regulate, own them.
Right, exactly.
I believe there's at least one candidate, at least one Democrat in that race who I think has a shot to win simply because they are not supported by the Texas Oil and Gas Association.
Yes. And somebody is asking, is there a Senate seat that's coming up as well?
The Texas State Senate?
It just said there's a Senate. This is from Cheryl.
Yeah, not one of our United States senators.
Not the states.
But I think we're going to have, is it 10 or 12 Texas state senators will be up for election. And so you've got John Whitmire and I don't know if Boris Miles is in this cycle.
Right. What about our friend that goes to travel in Cancun? What's his name?
Oh yeah, Ted Cruz. He'll be up in 2024, y'all.
Okay, so I think that's what she's talking about. 2024. We gotta wait and cruise around a little bit for 2024 for him. But his is coming up. So, but not this one. So these ones we've been talking about now are coming up this November. So it's very important that you guys, I always form together groups of people. I want you to help me by getting your own group of people. I like, first, you get a group of 100 people that it's not hard to do. All the different groups you're a part of, people that people in your community, you can get 100 people. We need to be, is it exponentially? I hope that's the right word.
Exponentially is the right word.
Okay. So we need to do that, and we can do it, but we got to work really hard. Like I said, work this year. I'm asking you not to work for 4 or 5 years, but just work the rest of this year like your life depended on it. Work this year so that you will not be embarrassed to hand a terrible, a group of people running the state of Texas to your children, to your grandchildren. We have got to do this. Someone said, we need to turn Texas blue. It's possible. It's possible we can do it, y'all. That's what's so important. The other times it wasn't possible, but it is very possible now because we have the votes.
We have the votes. We have the people. And if we just show up, we will win. You will win.
Exactly. So I guess my last thing I wanted to ask you about, of course, we thank you so much for coming out the school board. And I know you're always at the school board meetings, and you've seen the shenanigans that have gone on since before the campaign started and all the way through. So what do you have any information, or not information, any suggestions or comments on the school board? Where do we go from here? What are your thoughts there?
Well, That's a tough situation. I don't think there's a solid mechanism to remove a school board member unless they're boldly like breaking the law in enacting their duties, like misappropriating funds or stealing or that sort of thing. Even though I think it should be possible in the case of someone like this, whose comments, not just this one comment, but his history has been egregious, and he's outright racist. And then he says stuff like, oh, I don't like being called a racist because of one thing. It's like, yo, brother, if you don't like being called a racist, stop saying racist stuff.
Exactly.
Right. But here's what we can do. So the first thing we need to make sure that we do is hold on to the good members that we have left. We still have a majority of sane members who actually represent the interest of our school community, of our community at large. And then the next thing is, we'll have a chance to take out some of those folks, not the first election, but the second election. Right now, I am trying to work with some civil rights attorneys to examine how Cy-Fair Independent School District elects its officers. Because right now we elect them all at large. That means the entire district can vote for all 6 positions. And I think the district should be sliced up into pieces so that different sections of the district can each elect a representative, a school board trustee to represent their community. And that's called single member districts. So I think there's a voting rights case to be made there, and I'm consulting lawyers, and we'll see if we can the goal is to try to bring a lawsuit to force Cy-Fair Independent School District change how we elect officers, to draw districts so that communities of color can have adequate and equitable representation on the school board.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up too. Before we close out, I don't know if that's the same law that I've been hearing about that's kind of in the pipeline, that there's a possibility that Republicans are trying to get it fixed where people have to choose to be Democrat or Republican in the school board elections. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not. Those are supposed to be nonpartisan roles.
I know.
But it doesn't surprise me that they want to do that. And here's the thing to worry about. If they win one more seat, they will have control of the school board. They will have a majority. They can fire your superintendent, and his staff. They can get rid of things like equity audits and some of these programs that Cy-Fair has actually done pretty well to, help promote equitable outcomes so that we give the best education possible to all of our students, so they all have the opportunity. So we need to preserve that. It's so important. We need to preserve it, as fight for it like we are fighting for our children, because we are.
We are. And that's what's so important. The way we'll close out this way is talking about the children. Wonder, what are our children thinking? Because I know they're hearing what's going on in these school board elections. Some of them, they're hearing about it in their very own homes, where they're probably having meetings and the hate spewed. And when I taught school, one of the things that I was very well aware of, a lot of the kids do not like what their parents are doing. The children are not racist. They just have racist parents. And and so they will come and tell me things. They don't like it. And so the group that I'm forming has a component of it that has to hear from the students. I mean, it's awful that the school board, school district is here because of students that we have to provide services for, and then we don't hear from them. So we're going to try to do that. But well, that would be really good. So when do you think that may be coming, a lawsuit or whatever? Is that like
I've consulted the lawyer that works for the Equality Project and Mexican American Legal Defense Fund. This gentleman is one of the advocates that won a voting rights case in the Supreme Court in 2011. And so that forced Texas to redraw 2 districts. So he has experience, and right now he's doing the exploratory with the organizations that he works for to see if the data there exists to support a lawsuit. And as soon as I find out information on that, I will let y'all know. I'll probably be finding out in the next few weeks if it's possible to bring that lawsuit.
Wow, let us know because I want to, we work so hard to get people signed up for the oh gracious, what is the thing what we were calling to try to get some more seats. And then when they got them, they redrew the line so they couldn't, they gave them to someone else. Um, um, the census, you know what I'm talking about? The census when we were really working so hard to get people signed up, and then they got people signed up and got more um, enough in there to get some more representation. It wasn't given to the people who we worked so hard for. I tell you, it's just not fair.
It's not. It's rotely unfair. And they're that
Yeah.
same group, MALDEF and Texas Equal Rights Project, also NAACP and ACLU are bringing our parties to the lawsuits to challenge the district, the redistricting exercise for the state of Texas.
Well, great. Well, we pray for you all the time, and because you love fair and you love justice and you love the people in this area that you represent. And so we're just so proud to have you there in Austin. And so keep up the good work. And we're going to be pledging. I'm asking all of you all, you've heard all the great information. I ask now that you just don't be hearers, but be doers, that you would share this with other people as many times. Just share it to all your friends. If you don't get through with it today, share it tomorrow. Just keep sharing it because people in Texas, we are about to go on a plantation if we don't wake up. And so we need to wake up and do what we can do about it now before it's too late. You see, once you get on the plantation and the people are in place to rule and control the plantation, all you can do is work the plantation the way they tell you to work. And that's very serious. So I want to thank you again for joining us today. I'm out of town. I had I had some more things I wanted to share, but we'll share with them next week or week after. But we are having an urgent call to go out there, and it starts with you. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to get in, and not only informed, but are you going to get involved? This is Lady O with Tea Talk, and I thank you all, my guests, and thank you for joining us. I will see you again next Sunday at 3 for tea with Lady O.